today we're going to take a look at the new and improved mountain dragon enclosure. The animals have been in here for a little while now, the plants have been going nuts, things are looking amazing. So the goal of this setup was obviously to try and mimic their natural environment, which is, you know, the rocky outcrops and mountainous areas along the east coast of Australia, with that sort of sandstone rock, some of those natural plants and everything like that. So I think I've done a pretty decent job. The animals seem really happy in the new digs, loving it. And of course we started with that background. Now the background's basically put together by a foam base, tile pointing on top of that, and then a mix of sand and cement on top of that with all the carving and details happening there, and then a nice paint job on top. Make sure you head back a couple of videos and check out the whole process of making the background, because it's really quite enjoyable. It takes a bit of time, but I reckon the effect at the end is really well worth it. And while we're on the topic of backgrounds, I have just finished off this one here, coming in a video hopefully soon. Now having these backgrounds obviously brings quite a few benefits. Now the first is of course for the keeper, it looks quite cool, gives a natural sort of feel to the enclosure, but for the animals it does a lot for them as well. So it gives them different basking opportunities, more ability to exercise, makes the enclosure more three-dimensional for them, gives them more things to do. And with this particular one I've actually gone ahead and added on those sort of lichen spots on there, and how I've done that is simply just with paint, normal acrylic non-toxic paint, and just different varying shades of whites and greens, and then also different amounts of paint on the brush. So some of these more faded parts, it's literally just white paint dipped in a lot of water and basically just dripped onto there, and it gives a really cool effect. But I'm still working on this and making it as best as I can, but I think it's come up pretty good for my first try. One of the main things I enjoy about it is when the dragons do climb up there, it does actually really make them blend in quite well. They do match that coloration very, very well indeed, just like they would out in nature. Of course from there I've added in the drainage layer and the soil, and it is a bioactive soil. I've got lots of different cleanup bugs in there, worms, slaters, isopods, springtails, all of the basic stuff. And then from there of course I've added in some live plants. Now I've picked a particular species, this is a species of Lomandra, and these plants are really, really tough. They use them a lot in zoos and other places like that. They are a very hardy plant, can tolerate a lot of different conditions, and this one is a Lomandra longifolia, I believe it's called. And it's been in here for quite a little while now, it's grown out quite a bit, and they are just thriving. Literally just water them once a week, and it's that simple. So to make sure the plants are growing well and thriving, I of course have some good lighting on them. So I have an LED bar here, it's essentially a Jungle Dawn style, quite bright light, very, very strong for the plants, 6500 Kelvin, and of course it does provide benefits for the animals as well. That bright daylight is really good for them to have that day-night cycle, and it really works well in illuminating that enclosure for them. Now it's one thing to have a cool looking enclosure just for you, but it's always that much better when the animals actually use it and show off their natural behaviors. Now these dragons here, some of my favorites because they are so energetic to watch feeding. So what I have here is a big tub of black soldier fly larvae, one of their favorite foods, and I actually let these guys pupate into the flies, and then they actually chase them around and jump all over the place trying to grab them all. So I've got a few that have transformed in here, so I'm going to just literally pop it in here, open it up, and hopefully the dragons will start to go nuts for them. Straight over. They can get quite acrobatic when they want to be. But there you go, jumping around all over the place. This is very natural for them in the wild. They're going to be eating lots of little flying bugs, little ants, everything like that. But you'll see they use the background, all the little branches, even the Lomandra, they'll even sleep inside that and do all sorts. They use literally every part of this enclosure. And then oftentimes as well, I'll actually dump in a bunch of the actual fly larvae as well, let them all crawl around, get into the soil, and then they'll actually turn into flies as they go down in the soil, and then the dragons can hunt them naturally through the exhibit just like that. So it's almost like a self-feeding system. It works really, really well for these guys. Now before I actually revamped this enclosure, I was actually considering getting rid of the mountain dragons. They just really didn't excite me anymore. Their enclosure was bland and sort of run down, and I'd sort of given up. But I really thought to myself, hey, my keeping's getting stale here. I need to improve, I need to do better by the animals, and by doing that, they've rewarded me by showing me how amazing they are and what they can do. And I want to leave you guys with that message. Always do more for the animals, keep pushing forward, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe to see more like this, more on Australian reptiles, and we'll see you next time.